Good evening, and thank you for joining me at Music Today. This is Keitaro Harada. The concept of the show is to bring in an artist each episode and have a conversation with the artist about a performance we will all watch and listen together. The live component is very important because I encourage the viewers to comment and ask questions to the artists. The idea for the show came about when COVID-19 hit, and I wanted a platform to keep the music going for our fans. Even though we may not be able to experience live performances together right now, I wanted a place where music lovers can join easily to converse with artists and to see the more personal side of us. Music Today is a bilingual show. The live streams during your evening will be in English, and the shows that broadcast during your morning time will be in Japanese for the fans in Japan. If you want to improve on your Japanese skills, you're more than welcome to watch the Japanese interviews too. YouTube has this really wonderful function where after the broadcast, you could click on this button around here and put the subtitles on. As you listen in Japanese, you could read it in English. Without further ado, I'd like to bring in our guest for tonight. Since we cannot hear you applaud, please take a moment to use the comment section at the bottom of your screen to put in some clapping emojis, or you could write clap, 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 so we know that you're there and enjoying the show. Please welcome the one and only amazing American tenor, Carl Tanner. Hi,
guys.
Carl.
Hello there.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm
Very well.
I'm in a Hawaiian state of mind. You can see
You are very much in a Hawaiian state of mind. Where are you quarantining right now?
in Falls Church, Virginia. I'm at home.
Fantastic. Well, that's not really Hawaii, though.
No, if I can't go to Hawaii, I brought it to me. So yeah, it feels like Hawaii here. It's about 90 degrees and humid. Very humid.
Gotcha. So for our viewers, I wanted to explain a little bit about the relationship Carl and I have. And we met for the first time this year in January for the production of Pagliacci at North Carolina Opera. This is our wonderful cast from that production, and Jason Karn and Melinda and Taka and Gidan Choi. And we had a blast. This was a good family, Carl. What do you think?
Oh, it was fantastic cast. Eric knows what he's doing when he put, all stuff aside. This was a great cast. It really was. I've done what? Canio probably 60 times, and this was a world-class cast here.
This was great. And then the wonderful part about this was not many of us had worked together. So there was this wonderful energy of what each other, we're of course learning from you because you are definitely most seasoned with this opera. And so we were getting ideas from you and bouncing off ideas from you. And it was just,
doing the opposite. Learning what not to do.
And for the other three, except for Jason, it was a role debut for everyone else, for Taka, Melinda, and Gidon. So it was wonderful. And this is another photo with Taka, you, and my wife during one of the performances. And then post-performance, right when the curtain goes down, I always take a selfie with the entire cast. And there you are on the right.
Beautiful.
Easy to point out.
Great crowd.
Oh, and then all the kids, they just were so enthusiastic and added so much to the performance.
It was a magical show. It was one of those times when everybody comes together and there's no stress and everybody's there to make love and music. So it was great.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, before we get started, I wanted to recognize some hellos that we have already. Maestro Gary Uedo says hello to you.
Maestro, hugs to you.
Gary was when he was on my show a few days ago and talked about your audition in the basement that you did for him long time ago.
Gosh, 28 years ago, something like that.
And Gary described it. Gary, help me out in the comment if I don't say it correctly, but he said it was one of those moments that he just knew that he had seen this magical moment of an amazing tenor singing in front of him. So Gary had such wonderful things that he said. We have our director from the Pagliacci, Octavio.
Hello, Maestro. How are you? I miss you guys. Such a sweet man.
And we have some viewers from Japan that are watching right now. It is 10 a.m. I have my fans watching from Japan. And Phyllis Albertson, who is a board member of the Savannah Philharmonic, who is a wonderful patron of the arts. She also sings in our chorus, and she just loves vocal music. So I know she's very excited to hear you sing today.
Fantastic.
Daniel Sumegi. Hey, Daniel.
Oh. Hi, Sydney, Daniel.
Wonderful. And Gary says, no dates. John Crosby was there.
Yeah.
And wonderful Sahar was, who also was our assistant conductor and pianist for a production of Pagliacci.
Amazing musician. She was, I felt a little inferior around her, Every time I'd make a mistake, I'd look at her like, uh-oh.
So let's talk about music. Pagliacci. Tell us about this opera.
Pagliacci, it's a guy, probably it's a band of people, small touring circus of people, a husband and wife, and their employees, so to speak. And the husband is probably close to my age in real life, and what I am in real life, 58, and his much younger wife, she's in her mid to late 20s, maybe.
You did well.
All right. And then you have a guy that's close to my age, Antonio. And then you have a young kid, Beppe, who loves me like I think a son, or a son would love a father, looking up to me, but knows my weaknesses, alcohol being one of them. And we travel from town to town doing a small circus where I know that, being insecure, there's insecurity that lies with Canio, because here he is, an older guy. He has a much younger wife, and he says, I don't understand why a younger woman would be with me. But he took her off the street. He saw this poor girl on the street and took her off the street, and he sings about that. He speaks about that. He says, I took you off the street. And but he's so insecure with who he is, and his love is so deep for her, that when he suspects that she's cheating, but he's not sure, and then he has proof towards the end of the first act. It's a one-act opera. We break it down to 2 acts, so to speak. In this show that we did in North Carolina, we broke it down to 2 acts. So towards the end of the first act, he sings arguably probably the most famous aria, tenor aria in opera repertoire, or maybe the second, Nessun Dorma being the first, and then Vesti la Giubba being the second most famous aria that a tenor would sing. And in this aria that he sings about how he is dying inside. How can he make the audience laugh? How can he make anybody laugh when he can't function inside as a human being, knowing that the young lady or his wife that he loves so much is not loving him back. So
let's take a listen to that aria from the end of Act 1. Carl, you have the most creepiest laugh on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a contrived laugh there for him, because he's like, saying for saying warm, and then he laughs, thinking, what's the use?
I just remember when I first heard that laugh in the rehearsal, I think I was sweating from my back because I had goosebumps, but the most bizarre kind of goosebumps. I just never would forget. And even in every production, it was just your laugh just is a turning point. It really is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he laughs and he says, "Bah." He says, these thoughts are stupid. I mean, he goes back between reality and fantasy. You know, the love that he has for her can't be reciprocated. You know, and I think her love for him is more of a fatherly love.
Yeah.
It's more of a daughterly love, you know, towards a father figure. And, you know, and it happens in real life. That's the scary thing.
I also think how it was powerful that you were holding the costume at this moment of the second act.
Well, it's his only identification of taking him. You know, he says, "I have to be this clown."
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is during a rehearsal. That's why I cut out right there, right? But he says, you have to laugh, but it's all in vain. You know, it's laughing is in vain. How do I make these? How do I make the audience laugh? When I'm dying inside and the elements are laughing at me, and holding this. It's almost like a blankie. We say blankie or Linus in his blanket. Yeah, it's a devastating thing for this man. And you know, I know many older men and younger women in real relationships, and there's always an element of insecurity there on the older person's part.
And you're, you know, surrounded by this lush harmony, which adds so much to the drama that is happening here. Hey, bravo.
Yeah, thank you. I wish I would have sung the whole thing out, but you know, it was a rehearsal. So
no, it was, you know, it's a rehearsal clip, so it's totally fine.
You know, looking at it,
yeah,
I'm thinking I should have worn a wig. You know,
really?
I mean, I've never been a big proponent of wigs on me, but you know, for an Italian character, I should have worn a nice black wig.
Huh. Well, I thought you looked pretty good without the wig.
Yeah, it just looks like I had the whole outfit except for the wig on.
Well, fair enough. Tell us a little. Oh, we have, before we move on. Tell us I want to share some comments. Which Erica from the chorus is saying, you know, good to see you guys. Wonderful memories of Pagliacci.
Oh.
Yes, thank you. Tahar says, I miss your singing. Me too. I miss I miss hearing your singing live. I really do.
You know, I miss singing. I sat there the other day listening to, you know, I'm doing The Maid of Pskov, a Russian opera. Rimsky-Korsakov. I'm contracted to do it next year in Grange Park. So I was listening to it the other day. You know, just I wanted to hear because I'd never heard it before, and I almost broke down in tears. I mean, I got so emotional thinking, with everything going on. You know, I hope it happens. I haven't sung. You know, I get up in the morning and I vocalize sometimes. Sometimes I'm not even inspired to do so because I just, you know, I'm a guy that operates on the emotions of the world, and I sometimes I don't even feel like it, and I know I have to get past that. And I know I have to tell the younger audience, the younger students, hey guys, no matter what, don't let the realities of what's going on in your life hinder who you are as a musician. But I got to tell you, you know, I got to tell you, sometimes I'm even there. So I don't even, you know, I can't, I have to practice what I preach.
Yeah. Good question from Gary, which is, Carl, you sing such a rare specialized corner of the tenor repertoire. Did the repertoire find you or did you pursue it?
I think it found me. I had a very mature voice when I was younger, and Gary will know this, and I'm sure you've heard this. When I was coming up in the ranks, now I look back 30 years of singing. At the beginning of my career, I started late. I started at about 30, 31 singing, 29, somewhere in there, about almost 30 years ago. I started and I would hear, whoa, take it easy. you have plenty of time to sing the big rep. But I would go to do an audition and I'd offer Che Gelida Manina, and they'd say, can we hear the Tosca? Can we hear the Aida? Can we hear the Manolesco?
Of
And
course.
my next aria would be Vesti la Giuba or Celeste Aida. And that's what I'd get the job doing. My very first job was here in Northern Virginia, and I did Puccini's Edgar. My second job was Bohème, and my third job was Aida. Aida. And from Aida on, I've been singing the crazy heavy stuff.
Yeah. You never got to sing the light ones ever.
No, so to answer Gary's question, it sought me. And it's great. I never once heard, except for one person, tell me I should go into the German rep. And they didn't really say that. They said if I have a career at all, it'll be in the obscure work. And I've posted that story on Facebook, and it was shared something like 14,000 times. It was amazing. It went viral about how I was told I would never be an Italian singer.
And here you are singing the Italian rep. So.
Yeah. And then I recalled that, and I wrote it down. I wrote down that story sitting outside of a little trattoria in Milan after I sang. I think it was Turandot at the La Scala, about how I was told I'd never sing Italian rep. And but the heavier rep found me. I was born to sing this stuff.
This is a good transition to one of my first questions for this evening, which is, of many musicians I know, you have one of the most interesting career paths, from being in the law enforcement to being a truck driver to then singing all around the world, with so even from the Met to everywhere. And would you share us a little bit about your journey of how that all came about?
I sure will. I'm sorry, my phone I forgot to mute my phone.
No worries.
Yes. Well, I started out, I graduated high school, took off a year because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I sang in high school, took off a year, drove a van for a florist. And then I said, okay, well, the only thing I think I know how to do is sing, but I was insecure about my talent. So I went and auditioned at not a little school, but, and I picked a real doozy of a school because it was all great artists at the school. I auditioned at Shenandoah Conservatory of Music. And so from 81 to 85, I went and studied voice. I also played the piano and I played the violin. So those were my minors. And I got a degree in music and graduated in 85. And as soon as I graduated, I think the realization of not being raised on classical music and getting to Shenandoah and seeing all the students there that were raised on classical music or loved it with all their heart. I liked it. I liked classical music, and I had never been around opera before. So doing my first opera, singing Tamino and the Magic Flute at Shenandoah, I enjoyed the experience, but it wasn't something I was going to write home about, to be honest. So but it was the only thing I knew how to do. I was learning how to make jewelry at the time, which we'll talk about. But when I graduated Shenandoah Conservatory, I didn't know if I knew it wasn't something I wanted to do. I went to university to get my mother a degree. My mother had 4 boys. One of my brothers graduated with an associate degree. One of my brothers went into the military. My other brother became a Hell's Angel and then became a construction worker. So yeah, we're a diverse family. So I went, and I'm a mama's boy. I went and I got the degree from my mother and I handed it to her. And I think it's right there on the wall. You can't see it. That's the one there, right there. And I handed it to my mom. Actually, that's my PhD. I have a couple honorary PhDs, which I'm blessed to have. So, but I got the degree and I gave it to my mom, and she goes, are you going to go to New York? What are you going to do? You're going to go to New York? You're going to go to California? Where did the opera singers start? And I said, I'm not going to be an opera singer. And she said, what? And I said, yeah, Mom, I just don't think this is not me. And so I went and got a CDL driver's license, a commercial driver's license
Mm-hmm.
from the state of Virginia, and I became a truck driver. And I drove a Peterbilt, which is like a
Mm-hmm.
Mack
Yeah.
truck or something like that. And I loved it because I had no boss
Mm-hmm.
and I had no
You were your
radio.
own boss.
I was
Yeah.
my own boss. I had no radio in the truck, so no one could get in touch with me. It was pre-cell phone days. And I would drive all day. I was a local truck driver within the tri-state area. I say tri-state, Maryland, D.C.,
Mm-hmm.
Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved it. And then I'm going to make this short or too late, but I ran into a friend of mine who had graduated with me in college, and he is still an amazing artist. And he made the Metropolitan Opera Young Artist Program. And his name is Michael Forrest. Michael is now my voice teacher, believe it or not. One of my voice teachers. And I say one because I've worked with many others. He said to me, he talks with a Southern drawl, and he said, I'm at the Metropolitan Opera. I've made the Young Artist Program, and I'm doing my debut. And he goes, I guess you could have had that if you gotten serious about it. But we all make our life choices, or something like that. And he wasn't saying it to be mean. He was saying it to maybe to encourage me. And and that's exactly what the hell it did. I got off my butt and I started pulling out music and running through music and running through Tosca and running through just arias that I used to know in school. And I went to Shenandoah. I went back and I would drive up there every Saturday and work with the teacher that he was working with. And then one day I walked into work and my boss said, I'm going to have to let you go. And I said, really? Why? And he said, because I've heard you sing and this is not what you're supposed to be doing. And so I said, what? And he said, yeah. He said, so in about a week, we're going to let you go. So I thought they were kidding. And I went in the following Friday and they fired me. But when they fired me, they gave me a check like 3 times of what I was supposed to get. And they said, we want you to take this and go to New York.
Wow.
So you know what I did? I cashed the check, went home and gave my parents all the money, and I kept $100. Really? And I bought a $23 bus ticket one way. It wasn't really well thought out. And I took $73 and I went to New York and I got off a bus. And that was the beginning of my New York life and the beginning of my opera life, because I got off the bus, walked into a restaurant within a couple weeks, got noticed by Richard Gaddis, who was one of the founders of Santa Fe Opera. And he offered me an audition. I went the following Saturday, went up, and I remember I knew Recondita Mania, E Luce van le Stelle, Donna non vidi mai, and O Holy Night. Those were my 3 arias and a O Holy Night. Yeah. And I walked in and I sang them at this audition. And I knew that if I got to sing O Holy Night, I don't know about the other pieces, but I knew about O Holy Night. If I sang that, I knew I'd have the job. So they said, and they snickered when I told them I had that job. So I auditioned. I sang O Holy Night. I got to sing. I sang Recondita. I sang all the arias. They had me sing all of them. And I got a job at Santa Fe. And that was 1990, summer of 91. And that was the beginning of my career. Now I went on, but during the time right before I was in New York, while I was driving a truck, I became a bounty hunter in the state of Virginia. I wasn't making any money as a truck driver. So I became a bounty hunter. I worked for the state, and I basically was a licensed law enforcement, but I was picking up people anyone wanted from delinquent tickets to murder suspects. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. You're just a journey. Daniel Sumegi says, I suggested to Carl that the next great role would be as Joe Exotic in Tiger Joe, the opera.
I know that song. I have an 11-year-old and he goes around singing, oh gosh, what's her name? Carol Baskin killed her husband, whacked him. Can't tell me that it didn't happen. Fed him to tigers, they snacking. Carol Baskin. Now, if you don't know what that's about, look up Tiger Joe.
Definitely. Well, I also, when we worked together in January, you gave me one of your album, which is amazing, and it has the "Oh Holy Night" in it, right? If I recall correctly, Hear the Angel
Yes.
Voices. Yeah, so
Yes.
it's on Amazon. I hope that everyone.
Wow, it's dropped to $6.36
Well, let's
with
see.
honey.
With honey, it's $6.39, but it's $9.99.
That's a good CD, and it's
It is a
worth
good
way
straight.
more than $6.36.
Well, it is a great. Despite the pricing, we can't judge the quality with the pricing. It's just
No.
marketing.
No, I kept lowering the price because I mean, honestly, I own the product. It's Bounty Productions. Sony was going to make it. We recorded at Sony Studios, but we had kind of a deal with Sony and they backed out of the deal. So we bought the album. I have a very wealthy friend of mine, extremely wealthy. So she threatened to buy Sony. She threatened to buy Sony.
Carl, I got to stop you because Daniel says, no, Carl, that's what you pay us to take.
That's not true. You told me you use it as a coaster.
Funny time. Thanks, Daniel. So that was about the Michael Keaton story, which I always wanted to hear.
Well, several years ago now, it's probably 5 years ago, Michael Keaton and Ron Howard had got snowed into New York. I think this is what I heard. I never really asked him how. I know it transpired in New York. They had either gotten snowed in New York or somehow, but they got the New York Times, and in the New York Times there was an article that I was going to be singing. They did an article on me that I was going to be singing at the Metropolitan Opera that evening, and so they had come to the Met. I think both of them showed up to see my show, and they couldn't get backstage. The security wouldn't let them back because they weren't on my guest list. Long story short, the next morning, my manager calls me and he said, look, I don't know if this is a prank or anything, but he said, where are you? And I said, I'm actually feeding a friend of mine's cats. She's out of town. And he said, well, go somewhere and call me. So I went to a Starbucks, sat down, called him, and he said that Michael Keaton, he said that a high profile client of this agent that had called him, my agent, said that we have a high profile client that wants to possibly talk to Carl about the possibility of making a movie about Carl Tanner's life. So I said, and my agent at that time was Matthew Lafer. I said, Matthew, someone's having a go with you. He said, no, they sounded genuine. And I said, I know, Matthew. I said, I think they were just playing with you. And he said, no, well, look, they gave me a number and it's an 805 number or something like 305, I don't know, somewhere in California. So I called this guy and his name was Todd Hoffman. And Todd Hoffman happened to be Michael Keaton and the very famous Oscar-winning writer, Stan Sherman. I think he wrote The Blind Side and he screen adapted Moneyball or something like that. So great guy to write the script. Well, he said, do you mind if I have Michael Keaton call you? And I said, no, not at all. So a couple days later, I'm in the same place feeding a cat and my phone rings and up on the phone, it says blocked number. And I wasn't going to answer it and I answer it. And I had done my homework. So when I said hello and I hear this, hi, is this Carl? He said, yeah. I said, this is Michael Keaton. He said, this is Michael. And I said, Michael who? He said, Keaton. I said, this is really Michael Keaton. Where were you born and raised? He said, I was born right outside of Pittsburgh. I said, how many sisters do you have? And he told me, and he said, damn. He said, is that from your bounty hunting days? I said, well, I don't believe it's you. He said, well, are you planning to come to California? And then I could tell it was his voice. And I was like, oh, please forgive me. And so I flew to California and I met Michael Keaton and we sat down and Michael Keaton said, look, it could stop here. I could talk to you about the project. It could never go any further. It could be, we could go further and get publicity. We could get a writer. We could get, it could be made. It could go all the way to an Oscar. It could have nothing. He said, nothing is a definite in Hollywood. So I said, okay. So I was just excited to be sitting with Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
It was really cool, but it went further, and the screenplay was written by Stan Sherman, And I think for his last screenplay, he got $1 million. So it was big. And then Michael got out of the blue when we were all and you know they had a couple different production companies looking at it and producers, and then all of a sudden Michael got Birdman. And from Birdman, Michael got busy again. And it's been on hold since. And now maybe with Corona, you know, and everybody's sitting around, maybe he's thinking about it again. I don't know. But you know what? It was an honor to be thought of in Hollywood.
Of course. And fingers crossed that maybe one of these it will come to life. And
yeah, I just hope it's not when I'm dead. You know, because that's usually when they make films, right? They make films about dead celebrities.
That is true. But yeah. More hellos from Korea. I think Gidon is in Korea.
Oh, Gidon. How are you, buddy?
He's saying hi. And then Daniel, even though he made fun of your CD, he's not making fun of your CD and saying that guys, you know, go and get it because it is awesome. I totally agree. Carl, you're such a Renaissance man, and I just want to make sure everyone who's watching knows about this side of your career, which is the Carl Tanner Designs. Tell us.
Well, scroll down just a little bit and you'll see the last piece I made. I made that about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Her name is Aria. And it's not, I'm sorry to my music friends and my music brethren and sisters and brethren, but it's not named after an Arya. It's named after Arya from Game of Thrones.
Okay.
It's solid 18 karat gold. It has an argentium silver chain, and that stone is a very rare 22.5 karat orange mandarin spessartite garnet. So I got into jewelry when I was 15. You know, I like shiny things. So I didn't want to wear it. I wanted to create it. I wanted to craft stuff, and I love creating. It's an art to me, and I just love making stuff, crafting stuff. And if I didn't have it right now, I'd go crazy. I'll tell you right now. I spend about 10 hours a day in my studio. My son is either next to me or he's next door playing Fortnite. I can hear what's going on. But I love making jewelry. So at 15, I started. The first piece I made is on the website. It's a little tree pin. If you look under brooches, it's a little pin. It's called Life's Tree Swing. And the original one, I think, but there it is right there on the left. That silver one. Yep. It's Life's Tree Swing. And you can read about it if you go to it. And it's the first piece crafted by Carl when he was 15 or whatever. And that I made it for my mother. And that's not the original. I have the original, but that's the exact replica. And I gave it to my mother. My mother died very young. She died shortly after I left my teens. So my mother thought it was so precious that she never wore it. She wanted to save it. So she never got to wear it. So I keep that one. But I went on to study the art of jewelry crafting as an apprentice in Winchester, Virginia, with a jeweler there. And I learned about setting and casting and crafting and mold making, etc. And everything on the site is by me. I sign each piece. So, you know, I used to keep my jewelry really inexpensive, and I still try to do that, but some pieces are extremely special and rare. So I need to charge accordingly for them. But you know, I love doing it. And you know what? Again, it keeps me sane during these times. You know, look, it's we talked earlier. It's a luxury. So not a lot is selling right now because, you know, it's hard times for everyone. So I understand if pieces are not selling, it's not because they don't speak for themselves. You know, but people are being smart about their purchases. And look, I wouldn't be buying jewelry right now because I've been affected like everybody else. And you know, we're just watching our dollars. So yeah.
No, totally. But you know, I think because you travel so much, you have opportunities to find these gems during your travel too, which
Yep.
I think is part of the additional fun of your traveling and exploring different towns. So
If you want to see something really cool, just a footnote, go back
yes.
to pendants, click on
Okay.
pendants, pendants, and
Mhm.
then scroll down and you'll see a big opal. I'll show you. It's called Wondrous Light. Right there, that orange opal right there. It's the fourth one right across, right next to the big blue, right there, Wondrous Light. That opal I bought in Japan when I was there.
Mm.
But I was there 3 years ago. So I bought that and I was going to save it. And if you can't really see it on here, but if you go to the site and click on the opal, even the pictures don't do it justice. That opal is one of the most beautiful opals I've ever seen.
Mm.
It's so funny because it's a lightning ridge opal from Australia. Daniel Sumegi knows all about these because his mom is in jewelry, and I showed it to him. It's set in Argentium silver, which is silver and platinum mixed with 14 karat gold etchings around the corners. It's a very, very special piece. But I bought it in
Wonderful.
Japan when I was there 3 years ago, and I said, I'm not going to sell it. And then I crafted into this piece about 4 months ago.
Cool. Very pretty. Well, please, the way to access Carl's design is carltannerdesigns.com. So please take a look. Carl, so I with our guests, I also talk about what is happening in the world today. And so I want to ask you, tell us how the Black Lives Matter means to you and how it influences your musical activities.
Well, funny enough, and I think I touched on this earlier, I saw a post today that someone put up and they were talking about Black Lives Matter and it had a picture of a hanging from 1923. And so, I'm a pretty vocal guy.
Yes.
When it comes to injustices. I mean, I'm a vocal no matter what. You can't shut me up. But
No.
I've never, I hate injustice. I grew up knowing that I was a gay kid that was masculine, that I'd never be understood, or thinking I'd never be understood. And, and I grew up holding my mouth a lot. Believe it or not, I was actually a shy kid, so I wouldn't talk a lot. And so when I see injustice now, look, when children, when I hate to say downtrodden children, animals, you hurt any of them around me, and I'm going to react. And I saw this post today on Facebook, and I said something like, I hope every white person, white redneck KKK standing around that person that was in this hanging, I hope all of them suffered, painful death. I said that. Well, Facebook banned me for 24 hours from comments, which I thought was interesting. So now they're censoring people. I didn't say anything that was instigative. I didn't say anything. I just said what came out of my heart and my soul. It wasn't, look, I mean, we all need to stand up for justice. We all need to stand against racism. I mean, I was about to say something. I am a gay man married to a Chinese man. Okay. I have one of my brother's daughters is married to a black man. I have Spanish people in my family. I have South American people in my family. I have African American people in my family. I have Chinese people in my family. We're all human beings. And if you're going to tell me something differently, if you are so stupid or so ignorant to believe otherwise, you've been taught wrong. And you have, I'm not going to say you don't have a heart. Maybe you were taught wrong, but you need to go back and visit your morals. You need to pray on it. Whatever you need to do to change your way of thinking. I think peaceful protests are great. I personally wouldn't go out and loot, but when people are backed into a corner, they're going to react. And how it's affected the world, I think it's finally this poor man's death, watching these cops being ex-law enforcement. I never put my knee on someone's neck. I never slammed anybody to the ground. I watch how you see it every day, and it's still happening with, with law enforcement and American law enforcement brutalizing people by slamming them to the ground. There's no need for that. If most of the law enforcement that are doing that they went into law enforcement thinking they're going to be untethered. And now times are changing, and we're going to scrutinize every law enforcement, and we should back up. We should retroactively scrutinize what's gone down. And we are, thank God for that. And that's just my soapbox for today. I'm sorry. People make mistakes. People are allowed, cops make mistakes. For the most part, cops are great people. There are some bad eggs in every basket, and we need to weed those baskets of all these bad eggs. And once we get them out, if we know what they did badly, we need to prosecute them. And they are finally, I think we're taking notice of it now. I grew up, my best friend was black, and everybody says, oh, I have no, I grew up, and he told me to call him Moon. Moon, if you're watching this, I call him Jeff, but I called him Moon when I was a kid, and he told me why to call him Moon, and I won't repeat it. And then, I was a kid and I laughed because he explained it to me and he was laughing, so I sided with him. Now I don't think, I call him Jeffrey or Jeff. And he and we grew up best buds. And my father saw the love I had for him, but moreover saw the love he had for me. And we lost track for a while, got back together, and now we're back because Facebook does wonders for bringing people back together. And he was my closest friend growing up. And he was a guy that I could tell. He was the first person I told I was gay. And he said to me, don't tell anybody here in high school. They won't know. You're before your time. If you want to, if you think you're going to tell someone and have them understand, don't. They won't. Right. And he was totally cool about that. So, and to see, and I was there when he was called the N-word, and I saw how he dealt with it. And I would have probably dealt with it the same way. He's a tough SOB. And Moon, if you're watching, I love you, buddy, and I'll be in touch soon. We haven't talked in a while, but yeah. So that's how it's affected me. I'm sorry to get on my soapbox.
No, you're being yourself. You are being honest, which is the most important. And it's thank you so much for sharing that. And it really is, it's a moment for responsibility and humility and
when I said stupidity and ignorance, they're two different things. I'm ignorant to a lot of stuff. We are all ignorant to a lot of stuff. Ignorant means we haven't educated ourselves on a topic. That's ignorance. Stupidity when we know it's wrong and we do it. That's stupidity. And people can change their stupidity. They can change their ignorance. I believe in both. It's changing the stupidity part of our lives. We do stupid things all the time. We make mistakes. It's when we realize the stupid things we've done and we strive to make ourselves a better people. So,
and it's especially powerful coming from you, who you were in the law enforcement, so that side of the world, and to speak for what is happening today it's just very powerful. And so thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
We're getting towards the end of the show. I just wanted to make sure that our audience knows a little bit about Opera with a Side of Fries.
Opera with a Side of Fries. I was sitting around talking to a buddy of mine, a well-known famous bass, a couple basses, Oren Gratis from the Metropolitan Opera, and another well-known bass who has sung at the Met. He's sung at other houses around the world. Frank Basile. These two basses and I created a sandwich of craziness. We we started this this podcast called Opera with a Side of Fries because you can see the picture there. We all love fast food, and we're all big guys, and but we're all I kind of would say that we're blue collar opera guys, and
Okay.
I thought we'd start a podcast, a talk show, talking to not only opera singers. We've talked to movie stars, we talked to TV stars. I got a nephew. My nephew plays young Sheldon on television. He's a little boy. He's 11, almost 12, and we'll have him on the show hopefully one day. We're geared towards more of an adult audience, but we're like I said, we talk to television stars, country music stars, opera singers, opera stars. We had LaTanya Moore on today, so that'll air in about a couple weeks. Today we had on a child star. He was famous when he was a child star, Johnny Whitaker. Now, a lot of your audiences probably won't know unless they're my age or maybe a little younger than me and older. Johnny starred as Jody, he starred Jody on a television show that was big in the 60s and 70s by the name of Family Affair. He also did many movies. You can Google Johnny Whitaker. And I was excited to have him on because I grew up watching him. And next week, we're going to have Michael Fabiano on and a couple other big famous, opera stars, et cetera. So we're excited. And we're not politically correct. You will get offended probably if you are delicate, but we mean well. We love everybody we have on. We ask some pertinent questions about what's going on in the world today. We have a segment called Stories from the Road. We want you on, Maestro. And the Stories from the Road segment is something that embarrassing or funny or something that happened to you when you were on the road working. So
sounds like with us traveling musicians, there's always some kind of a story. So,
and you can go and listen to it. You Google opera with a side of fries, and it pulls up on Google, and you can go and follow the podcast and go listen. We have one episode up now, but we have 6 in the can that we're loading up soon. So go listen to that first episode.
Fantastic. Well, everyone, please do go and check it out. And then you can also see more of Carl's activities on his official website at carltanner.com. So please do.
Which is probably under schedule. It has nothing right now. I've had, like I said, 7 or 8 jobs cancel.
Yeah, no, it's reality. Well, Carl, thank you so much for your time and your lovely words. And
can I say one last thing real quickly?
Oh, of course, please.
I just want to say something to the young artists out there who haven't or who just started a career or that are getting a career going. You're looking at a veteran here who still has moments of doubt in this business. I've sung on probably 95, 97% of the world's stages for opera. And I still question myself as an artist. And during this time where everybody's out of work and we don't know how fast our jobs are going to, how fast, not our jobs, but our soul, our musical soul is going to come back. And if it does come back, are we going to be part of it? Think positive. Stay positive. Go watch The Secret. It's on Netflix. Go watch The Secret. And if you don't believe it, then you'll know what I say when I say, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
I'm actually a secret believer, so I'm with you on that.
I'm proud of you, Maestro.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. And Carl, thank you so much for your time. And everyone, have a wonderful evening. Ciao.
Thank you, guys. Take care now.
Thank you for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share this video. ありがとうございました。チャンネル登録、いいね、そしてこのビデオをぜひシェアしてください。